You there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Who's this?
Yeah. This is Jeffrey from Mountain View.
Jeffrey, how are you? Welcome to the program.
Doing pretty good. I was just calling because I think it was yesterday. You were talking about libertarianism, and I was just wondering what your concerns were about libertarianism. You talked about it being a utopia, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to dispel some of those myths.
All right, go ahead.
So, well, basically it's a straw man to say it's a utopia. It's not really a utopia, it's more like a better system than we have now. And
tell me what that system is. What would that system, what is a libertarian system?
Sorry, what?
What is a libertarian system?
Sorry, the connection's kind of cutting out. So what was your question?
You said it's a better system than we have now, and I'm asking, what is a libertarian system?
What do libertarians believe? Is that your question?
Yeah, what is the system that you're talking about?
Oh, the system, yeah. So basically, minimum government, maximum freedom. There are many problems when you try to regulate things. For example, the drug war causes more problems than it solves. Without a drug war, you would have, for example, people just harming themselves or benefiting themselves, whichever the case. And you would have less people in jail for crimes that do not hurt others. And, that's one of the imbalances that regulating.
Yeah, no, we agree. We agree on the drug war, but we don't get there in the same. We don't get there in the same way. When you say minimum government, what would you get rid of aside from the drug war? Would you get rid of the FDA, for instance, the Federal Drug Administration?
Yeah, I think either most of it or all of it, because the FDA, apart from blocking good drugs, also blocks some bad drugs. But even then, it doesn't block all the bad drugs. It's not a good system because companies have independent companies that assess them anyway. A company has an incentive to produce a good product. And, for example, I think there's like Fishers associations where they have a seal of approval that is better than the FDA. So it has standards that are even more stringent than the FDA. So that's one of the examples where the FDA is kind of irrelevant in that case.
Yeah. Are you familiar with, let's say, Yaz? Do you know what Yaz is?
Naz, how do you spell that?
Yaz, Y-A-Z. Or perhaps Fen-Phen. Or are you familiar with, Vioxx? Or are you familiar with any of the drugs that have, sometimes they get FDA approval. They get FDA approval, but are you suggesting that we should just leave it up to drug companies and just trust that the drugs they're going to give us are safe?
Well, it's not really trusting in their benevolence. It's more like trusting in the fact that they do their research. And, there will be problems, but it's in their best interest to give us the best drugs.
Wait. Why is it in their best interest? Why is it in their best interest? For instance, Bayer has released this Yaz. It was a birth control pill, but they started selling it for other applications, and it has caused untold damage to women. And the only thing that could potentially stop them, nothing actually is going to potentially stop them. They may they may suffer some torts, but the fact of the matter is there's no way for individual people to know whether or not what they're taking is safe.
And so did people figure out that company was responsible for that drug? Or is the company doing well now as well? Yeah,
the company's doing great. It's Bayer.
Well, you also have to think about the good side of not having the FDA, which is having drugs which the FDA blocks just for being careful. Because if they block drugs that could help thousands of people survive, they do not get punished. If they let them go and it hurts people, they do get punished. They have an incentive not to release drugs, and that would help a lot of people. For example,
so you think there should be? All right. Let's move on. Okay. So I just want to be clear. So you think that we don't need that corporations will not produce unsafe drugs, despite the fact that we have seen time and time again corporations that produce.
No, there will be cases. There will be cases when they produce bad drugs, and there are cases now that they produce bad drugs, even with the FDA. There will be associations as well that assess the drugs, and
why aren't there associations that do that now?
All powerful. Sorry, because, well, for example, with food, some companies resort to independent companies because the FDA is not enough to convince people that it's a good product. For example, with the fish products, like that company that puts the seal of approval says this is tested better than the FDA. So there will be more of those without the FDA.
Now, what do you do, like in a situation? What do you do in a situation
when you release good drugs?
What do you do in the situation like where you get all this E. coli in meat or in produce? What association then will track that down?
When you have like a produce outbreak where it kills people.
Yeah.
Like with the melons, I think, or the cantaloupes recently.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you would have. I think I'm not sure who was responsible for that, but there are class action lawsuits. And, it got released even with the FDA, so I'm not sure what you're arguing about. But you know that it's government agencies that track down where it's located because they force them to go into a database when they sell. And journalists track down where it's located as well.
So we would wait for journalists to do that. Let me ask you this. Do you have diarrhea?
Not right now.
Now, the reason why you don't have diarrhea is because despite the fact that you think it's in the best interest of corporations not to pollute our water, they would be polluting our water. Do you think that we should get rid of the EPA? Should we get rid of the...
Why would they pollute our water without the FDA?
They pollute our water because it saves them money to pollute our water.
Our water without the agency.
They pollute our water because they did. Before the EPA, there were dead rivers. The Hudson River was a dead river. The Cuyahoga River was a dead river before the EPA. Would you get rid of the EPA?
Without the EPA, there would be more class action lawsuits as well. And it would be more effective not to hide behind the laws of the EPA for someone to convict the company of those kinds of pollutions. So, yeah, there are very much market pressures to take care of that as well.
Are you suggesting there was no class action lawsuits that existed? Wait a second. Hold on for a second. Are you suggesting that prior to 1971 there was no class action lawsuits? They didn't exist? I mean, how was it that the Hudson River became so polluted that fish could not live there? It was a dead river. The Cuyahoga River lit on fire.
Yeah.
What's different between...
And so people were aware of that. So what did people do then? Like, they didn't just stand around.
They started the EPA and they passed laws.
Yeah, that's not the only necessary path. That's not the only path you can take.
Who has standing? Who has standing?
Getting together and holding the companies accountable.
Who has standing in a pollution case?
I'm sorry?
Who has standing in a pollution case?
Who has standing?
Yeah. Do you know what standing?
Who's responsible? Or?
No. In a tort action, you must prove that you have been directly harmed. And if it's not your river, who has standing if there is no government laws about whether or not people can dump into our rivers?
There doesn't have to be. There are property rights, and there are many other things you can invoke to convict them.
Who convict them? No, there's no law. Remember, we're talking about civil actions. You're suggesting. You're saying that torts, if there was no EPA, torts would take care of it. Who has standing? When people pollute a river,
if you get people together and point the finger at a company, you use property rights, you use other rights, you use safety, you use all these other reasons.
You don't know what you're talking about.
A specific law to address that.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Is that not plausible?
No, not without government regulation.
The government is not the only way to fix things.
Sir, you don't know what you're talking about in this case. Let me ask you, what else would you care? What else? Do you think that income taxes are illegal?
Well, I'm not saying they're not legal. It was put into the Constitution. I believe it was amended into it. I do not believe it should be in the Constitution. There are other ways of collecting taxes. And
what else from the Constitution would you like to change?
Well, a lot of things. For example, the fact that it subsidizes farmers, the fact that it gives $500 million to Solyndra and then it goes bankrupt in a year.
Well, that's not in the Constitution. That stuff's not in the Constitution. All right, let me ask you this. Do you think
that's like part of what libertarians want too, like more liberty. The Constitution gives people that.
Let me ask you this: do you think that if you own a restaurant that you should be able to discriminate against, let's say, black people or gay people, that you don't have to serve them, right? Because it's an infringement on your property rights. Is that right? Do you believe that?
Yeah.
So you think that that type of discrimination is fine?
No, I do not.
You don't, or you do?
Unnecessary conclusion.
I'm sorry?
That's not a necessary conclusion. That doesn't not follow from the other.
Do you support the Civil Rights Act? I mean, how can we infringe upon your property rights?
I support equality. I don't necessarily support everything that the Civil Rights Act says.
So, well, tell me what you have a problem with it. Like, I'm just trying to find out, because there's no libertarian, as far as I can tell, who can actually tell me. They can say, we want more liberty. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I know what the word liberty means, but I don't know what it means in the practical application. When you tell me that we have property rights, and that the government has no right to infringe upon those property rights, I don't know what that means. I mean, do you think the Civil Rights Act is wrong? Do you think that you should be able to take your property and use it in any way you want?
I'm sure there are extreme cases where, if you're trying to build a nuclear bomb or something in your house, there might be reasons. I mean, but that's like with the warrants. That's not necessarily property rights. If there's something that really needs intervention, then they get a warrant and they do something about it. However, discrimination is not part of what the government should police. That's a societal phenomenon.
Okay, all right, fair enough. You think it goes beyond the bounds of society to say that we shouldn't have discrimination in any way. All right, well, listen, this has been very enlightening. I appreciate your calling in. I think you've made quite a case for libertarianism. Is there anything else you want to say?
All right. No, just thanks for taking my call, and it was good debating you.
Okay, yes. That was impressive. I will say, if you're going to claim that somebody can sue a company for polluting a river without any government regulations, without environmental protections that says that companies can't do that, I'd like to see some evidence of it. And you really should know what it means to have standing if you're going to rely on torts as a mechanism for policing corporations. But let's see if we can do better with this caller. Give me a second, folks, because for some reason my system is a little bit slow today. In the meantime, let's take an IM. We're backed up here. Oh, it's going to be a long show today. Kyle. He recommended the same weeks I did. My favorite part of the Chris Rosen segment is when there's dead air and he goes, hello? Tell Chris I want to meet him during the 12-hour show. We can hug. All right, I will tell him. Let's go to, you're calling in from a 719 number. You there?
Yes, sir.
All right, what's your name?
My name is Jackson. Jackson Allender, sir.
Okay, and so, what are you calling for?
I'm a libertarian, and I believe that you might have some misconceptions about what a libertarian actually is.
Okay, all right, please enlighten me.
All right, so the definition of libertarian is one who basically wants free thought and advocates for free will. Now, is that something that, shouldn't be done?
Should people not have free will? Well, I mean, I think there should be, obviously there needs to be, in a practical implications, there is some limitations on free will.
Yes, sir, and don't get me wrong, I'm in full compliance with those. I mean, after all, with liberties and whatnot, we have to respect people's rights. I think we can all agree on that, yes?
Yeah, of course.
Now, I understand that some people think that we are anarchistic in some ways, and in some ways we are, but we want government. We want little government, but we do want government so that on corporations for things like monopolies. We don't want monopolies because, well, it's an obvious no competition. And
wait a second.
Yep.
You're telling me that governments should intervene in the free market to prevent monopolies?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, so
government has its uses.
Okay, you're going to have to then outline to me what you would get rid of in our government today, because that is not consistent with what I've heard from other libertarians. But I'm glad you believe in government regulation to prevent monopolies. So you believe in busting up trusts. That's good. What else? What would you get rid of? Let's get practical here. Instead of talking about free will, I think that's wonderful. Free will is great, but in a practical level, in terms of a system of government, what would you get rid of with our government right now?
And as far as that would go, I'm afraid I'd have to take some of what Rick Perry says, even though I hate the guy. I would get rid of the Chamber of Commerce. I definitely get rid of the Department of Education and Heritage.
Okay, hold on for a second. You would get rid of the Chamber of Commerce.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
You would get rid of the Chamber of Commerce.
I'm sorry?
You just said to me you would get rid of the Chamber of Commerce.
In each individual city. Well, in my city, Colorado Springs, we have deliberately taken subsidies from the homeless shelters that the government gives and given it to the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Are you? What's your name again?
Jackson.
Jackson. Are you aware that the Chamber of Commerce is not part of the U.S. government?
Wow. Well, my slip of the tongue today.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, this is why I think libertarians are full of crap. Because you tell me, and I'm going to assume that what you're doing is not a joke. But you tell me that I agree with Rick Perry, and we should get rid of the Chamber of Commerce. What did you say? The Department of Energy? Did you say the
yes, sir.
Yeah. Are you aware the Department of Energy? You're aware the Department of Energy is what guards our nuclear stockpiles, right?
I am fully aware of that.
Okay.
Because after all, we can't find anything else that can do it.
Right. And what was the third thing? You wanted to get rid of the Department of Education? Now, when you say to me, we need to get rid of the Chamber of Commerce, and you say it with such conviction as part of your libertarian beliefs, and you don't realize that the Chamber of Commerce is not a governmental body, I think what you meant to say was the Commerce Department. Okay? I think that's what you meant to say.
Commerce Department, yes. Thank you, sir.
What is the budget for the Commerce Department?
Nationally, I cannot say for sure, sir.
What does it do?
Yes, we remember, actually.
Yeah. How am I supposed to take what you're saying seriously if you have no idea what you're talking about?
You don't know the slip of the tongue.
Are you... I mean, seriously, are you... is this a joke?
Nope.
All right. So you would cut those three agencies of our government because they're useless. You certainly don't know what they're doing now, so it's obviously they can't be doing anything that's good. I mean, I actually think I think the Commerce Department could easily be gone, but you don't even know what it does. What is there anything else you want to advocate should be cut?
Well, yeah, I'd actually have to advocate what I actually called for.
Oh, please, go ahead.
So basically, pretty much, it was the economy. It was the economy I was getting on. So I heard you were going on about college, basically. And you're going on about how everyone else should pay for it. The government should pay for it. The church should pay for it, as you said. What about personal responsibility in that regard?
I believe that, yes, our government should provide for free college education.
So why can't people do that themselves if they can have a job?
Why can't...
The way things are now, yeah, I can understand it. Sorry?
Why can't people do it? Well, some people can't afford to go to college.
Yeah, nowadays. All right, so if the Libertarians...
Well, not just nowadays. Not just nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays.
That's always been the case.
Well, no system would work nowadays. How much are we in debt?
How much are we in debt? I think our national debt is somewhere around $13 trillion right now.
14 trillion, sir.
Okay.
So, and you want to put even more debt on the government when we can't even pay off what we have already?
Yeah.
All right, you do, sir, you do know that the GDP is almost about to be passed just by the interest of that debt, correct?
Well, that's not accurate, but the fact of the matter is that when if we grow the economy and if we roll back the Bush tax cuts, we will be at par within 70 years, 60 years. We will have completely gotten rid of our debt.
That is, if we quit this useless government spending.
No. If we maintain the same growth of government spending that we have traditionally got. I mean, I think we have a problem with healthcare in this country, and we need to go to a universal healthcare system by single payer so that we can control healthcare costs. I think we need to do that. But in fact, I think what we should be doing is spending more money right now to get us out of this recession.
Have you seen the debt clock?
Yeah, I have. I've seen the debt clock.
Now, I can agree with you on that. We need absolutely complete social health care, or we don't need any insurance whatsoever, because that's what's driving the cost of health care up so high, is insurance. That's what the curve has set. If everybody had to pay out of pocket, you would see those prices decline because they're still a business and they need money to survive. And if people can't afford it, they're not going to stay in business long.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I also think that medicine is not like buying a stereo system, and that there's a lot of people who are going to get ill and die if they are put in charge of whether deciding they're going to go see somebody because of the cost of it. So we can agree we should have we should socialize the medical insurance in this country. I think you'd find that most of your libertarian friends wouldn't agree with that, but that's fine. But this has also been an incredibly illuminating phone call. I have to jump because I got another caller, but I appreciate your calling in, and I want to encourage you to call in again.
Yes, sir, and I'm going to have to apologize to you and your audience for that time wasting the first half of this. I really am sorry.
No, that's all right. I understand. I really do. Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir. Have a nice day.
You too. Very polite guy. Very nice. He misspoke on a couple of things. That's fine. That happens. I still am trying to figure out what libertarianism is.